display entities. They're a not as known thing in Minecraft Bedrock Edition. However, they're still possible and very cool to do. To show you, we're just going to do this. And as you see right here, we have a display entity. This block is not real. And it lets us control rotationals more than normal blocks, of course. Instead of building on grid, you can do whatever you want with display entities. Now, how do they work? So display entities use a little bit of cursed Minecraft logic, and that is using entities. Most importantly, we're using the fox entity, but you can also use the armor stand entities for this. Now, when using the fox entity, we are controlling the movements of it through something called Molang quarries. And these are what each of these lines is controlling another quarry. So let's get rid of that and put back our fox. Now, this also lets us control things like the spin speed. As you see, right here we have 200. But then we can put something like 2000. And as you see, that one is spinning a lot faster. So let's get into kind of how it works. Oh, you can also, before we get into that, let me just show one thing, and that is face player. You can have the blocks face the player too. That is very important. Alright, so let's get into kind of how it works. First, we're going to talk about how you make one of these. Now, mine has invisibility, but we will turn that off temporarily. As you see, it's just a big old fox right here. Now, the commands are this line right here, and that is it. So first, we kill everything named DE. For reference, the foxes are all named DE for display entity. Then we are turning on some scores. Now, instead of turning on some scores, this can be a like TPs and stuff, or for this one, invis. What that does is it runs these ones if it matches one. So you would basically just replace the scoreboards with TP at self in the same place and affect everything named DE in a fox with invisibility. I just have it so I can toggle it around. Now, next thing what we're going to be doing is summoning the fox. You choose your 3 chords wherever you want, and my 3 chords are in this middle of the room. You're going to lock the fox's rotation, so this is how we're actually going to be doing everything. Everything done with the display entities are through animations. So as you see, we're doing an animation sleeping for the fox, and then the fox move. That will keep it still and lock its head. We're going to set its block type. So we're going to set slot main hand, which is the fox's mouth, to be a redstone block. And we can change this to any block or item we want. I could make this a diamond sword if I want to. Next thing you're going to do is scale it. And this one is a little more complex. But this is also where kind of all the stuff happens. This is where you choose the block size, block width, how much you're stretching it, smushing it, kind of everything. And most importantly, it doesn't lock it, because sometimes you can't get the armor stands to spin if you lock it. We'll go through this in a little bit. We'll go through the more normal ones. Now this is the offset for the fox to align it to a block. As you see, we're doing some rotations. And this one we are using the ward move. It doesn't have to be only fox play animations. We're just using this as a base to put our Molang quarries in, which is the V body, V rotation, X rotation, Z rotation, all that. Next thing we're going to do is the fox aims 45 degrees up when you lock it. So this is pulling it down. As you see, we have Ender Dragon neck movement. V head rotation 0, head rotation 0, head rotation 0 for Z axis 0, and then of course the X. And this is the most important part of the base position. This is where we are setting kind of like the math side of things. We have that, and then we have the 10.6925. Now these kind of seem like they're not important, but they are. So I will just show that a little more so you guys can copy if you want. But this is all just aligning the fox. This is more aligning. I'll show that a little more. Again, a little more aligning. Now this one is putting the fox up by 0.5 blocks. So it is aligned to the block grid. And lastly, this is offsetting it by 1 block. So it's aligned to the grid. Now all of those running together will make a block just like this. And this one did not get aligned because I still need to move it half a block up. But as you see, it is aligned to the block grid of these sides. So if we do something like that, as you see, it's perfectly aligned, no clipping. Now, some things you can do is pair multiple of these together. That's what this is. So if I did run this real quick, as you see now, it's a little bit glitchy because the fox tries to move on its own, and we have not found a way to get past that just yet. But as you see, you can make multiple block structures that kind of anchor themselves together. Alright, so let's get into kind of what's going on. I will just grab these commands. Gotta get them in order. And we'll just place them right here. No lock. There we go. And now, let's get a button for this. Let's show the parts more in depth, especially the one where scale no lock. This is the biggest one and the most complex one. So this one has multiple parts going together. Those parts are, sorry, I'm pulling up some documentation I have for this. So each part is how you edit the fox. The V, where is it? V base pose right here. This controls the head position of the fox. You have your X, Y, and Z chords. The to edit them, you can just change the zeros to whatever you want. But that will change the head position from where the fox is summoned from the body. And then the VX pose, the one without base, that controls the fox's body positions. So as you see, we have X, Y, and Z. Next thing is the rotation. This will, right now they're all 0 because we want aligned with the grid. But if you do want to summon it in with a rotation of like 10 degrees already, this is where you would change it with the rotation X rot, Y rot, or Z rot. And as you see, if I turn Z rot to 45, and then I resummoned it in. As you see now, it's going to be summoned at a 45-degree angle. Next thing is the V scale. What V scale is, it's the size of the fox's head. It's also the size of the item. So if I change that to 2, it would be a 2x2 or a little bigger. The math is a little bit weird, but as you see, it is about a 2x2. It's just a little off-centered because instead of growing from the center out on everything, it grows to the corner outs. Let's change that back to 1, and this can be as small as you want to. I could do 0.1, and as you see, we have a very small block now. But let's get back to normal. There we go. And then we have the XZ scale. This one is responsible for flattening or growing or shrinking. So it's basically growing or shrinking the fox's head to make the blocks longer or slimmer. So as you see, if I did 2 instead of 1, we're gonna have like a more flat block. And then if I changed it along with the Y scale, the Y scale is the length. So if we change that to 1, did I change it? No. Y scale 2 for up and down. There we go. So you see, that's now changing the length. Instead of making it flatter, it's making it longer. All those are very important. And then we have the spin commands, of course. What this is doing is it's putting Q life for, we're changing the X rotation by 200 and the Z rotation by 200. And then we're setting it to the foxes. And as you see, that will basically dynamically change the variables we just said. So as you see in here, we have X rot and V rot and Y rot, of course. X, Y, Z rot. That is all these are doing, is it's changing them. Some other things you can do is even grow the fox. However, this is a little bit more out of my expertise of how it works. As you see, we have a grow test, and this will slowly change the scaling up. Instead of the rotations, we're improving the scaling. I'll show the command right now. As you see, we're improving V scale by Q lifetime. Q lifetime is just a time frame of like over a set amount, and then we're adding 0.1 to it to improve the scale. There's many different applications you can do with the foxes. For instance, this one actually doesn't use any of, normally if you want to build like a picture or something that doesn't move around, you can build it with only changing these rotations and the scaling to get your desired outcome. But let's say you want to make something that is more mobile. For instance, this, as you see, it's more mobile, and as you see, it does glitch out a little bit, but it does work. Now we can't, the way we do this is when the fox is facing the player, you have to keep the fox facing the player's location. That makes it a little bit weird because if we turn invis off, you can see invis off. These might be getting permanent invis over here. They are. That change it. Oh, we have infinite duration here. Okay, restart. As you see, it's a little cursed. You gotta bear with me. But some of them are facing down, even though they're trying to face to me. And the way we're doing that is these teleports. These are all teleporting them to face certain directions. And instead of using the player as the location, it's using this armor stand. So I'm telling the foxes to face different parts of the armor stand while the armor stand is facing me. That way, they can stay aligned no matter where I look. So it looks relatively normal. Of course, see, they kind of freak out sometimes. If I go over it, it will start breaking. However, if I am just normally walking around, it should be fine. With a little bit twitching because of the fox movements. Now this is all very cool, but what would you use this for? I've seen this used for making custom entities, of course. So this could be like, this was a little stand for a turret that I was gonna make. I was gonna make security cameras with them. However, it could also just be stuff for, like, for instance, in the lab, I could have this block as a core. I did not kill the other entities. That looks cool. So back to what I was saying. They could be as like a core for, like, this is what the center of my reactor is gonna have. So of course it's gonna be a different block than redstone block, but if I surrounded it with glass, as you see, we have a pretty cool looking core right now. Of course you could fill this with glass, but as there's an entity, I can't right now. And you could just use them for anything. You could even use these for fake walls and stuff, as they look identical. The only difference is they let light through. And you're going to want to put some command blocks to stop the noises. As of right now, there's no world download for this. So if you guys want to copy it, I will go through them one last time. But soon, when I do release this world, it will have this room where you guys can test for yourself. However, it might be moved a little bit. Alright, so let's just go back through them real quick. So this one kills, right? This one TPs it in its one location. This one gives the fox invisibility, so you only see the block. This summons the fox. This locks the rotation so the fox can, when it gets summoned in, it cannot move and misalign things. The block type, right now we're only using a redstone block. There it is. This is the most important one, so I will freeze on this one for a second, just so you can focus it, but I will go through each part real fast again. VX base pose, Y base pose, and Z base pose. What these are is it controls the fox's head position from the body. The X pose, Y pose, and Z pose controls the fox's body position from where it's summoned in. X rotation controls the rotation of the block. Y rotation controls the Y rotation of the block. And Z rotation controls the Z rotation of the block. The scale controls how big the block is while keeping the sizes proportional to each other. The X scale will flatten the display. It will make the fox bigger where it's flattening, so you may need to scale it down a bit. But this is where you can make like really small, like plate looking things. The VY scale, this is controlling the length of the block. And the swelling scale you do not touch, as these are all just math things to be processed for the fox entity. We got the offset, one of them. This is all set up. We got another offset. This is again set up. I'll pause on this one as it's a little bit longer. We got the locking of the body for the Z rotation. We got another Z pose alignment to be on the block grid. We move it 5 blocks up, and then we move it a 1 block offset. So that is a quick summary of display entities for Minecraft. It is a little bit longer video, and it is a little bit more complex. However, I think it is very, very cool to see it work, and you know, you can do whatever you want with it, really. You can make doors, you can make security cameras, just little cool looking things like this. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry if it's a little more confusing. I might do a more in-depth video at the time. But I'll see you all next time.